Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Millennial Trucker Podcast. I am your host, Luke, and I'm proud to say that this is episode number 2 of the podcast. That's a big hurdle for me, at least, because number 1 was easy to post up, but getting that number 2, it's. I'm proud of it. I'm just gonna say I'm proud of it. Today's guest is Vito from New York. I met him through a chat room. A chat room. That's a very millennial thing to say. I met this person through a chat room. I grew up with chat rooms. AOL, Prodigy, ICQ, AOL. The AOL chat rooms when it first came out, that was just. I spent more time in those chat rooms than I did in surfing the World Wide Web, and it was great talking to people, just random people across the world. And I know people nowadays, it's like, oh, you're talking to strangers through the computers. No, it's great. It's great because you get to meet people that you wouldn't normally meet in your immediate surroundings. So that was a game changer for me. Even before AOL and Prodigy, I used to chat on Hyperterminal. I'm not sure if many people had done this. My older brother was really up on this technology, on the technology back in those days. So like, if you knew how to do Hyperterminal, plus if you knew somebody you could talk to on Hyperterminal, that was mind-blowing. So my older sisters were at university, and after university they had a computer lab where you could use this program as well. So they had to have Hyperterminal, and the university had a server where you could dial in and there'd be a menu. This is all text-based. Very rudimentary looking program, but it was great because it was the first time I was able to instant message over the computer and talk to somebody. And I mean, I was talking to my sisters, but still, it was great. It was a really good introduction, and ever since then I've been on chat rooms, like over the road. I like going on chat rooms. I've met up with people away from keyboard that I've met through chat rooms, and it's so much fun. It is so much fun. I love chat because there's some things in chat that you can do that you can't do when you're talking person to person. Like nowadays, you could just send GIFs, memes, all that stuff to express how you're feeling, or stickers to express how you're reacting. It's just a whole different world now. Back in the day, I used to have a server. If I wanted to express myself in a meme or a sticker, I'd have to first find the picture on image search, Ask Jeeves, or Dogpile, or Alta Vista. I used to do image search on Alta Vista, upload it to my server through FTP, then post a link to the JPEG through the chat room so they could see my reaction. Now it's instant. It's a whole new world, a game changer. But anywho, let's get on with the show. Thank you for being here. All right, everybody. Welcome. Today we have a special guest. He is a true legend of the highway and a bona fide leader of men. He hails from New York State, completely different from New York City. Am I correct in saying that you hail from New York State?
Yeah, that's correct. Just outside of New York City, born and raised.
Oh, okay. I was on the iffy about saying the name of the state, but Vito from New York, just like there's probably a few Vitos in New York.
Probably.
Welcome, Vito, to the show.
Yeah. Hey. Oh, okay. And applause. It's good to be here.
Are you staying busy these days?
Well, not right now. No, I'm actually at home on home time for the week, so it's great.
How often do you have home time?
Well, I haven't been here in about 2 months, but I usually stay out about 6 weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. Yep.
Oh, you bank those 4 to 6 weeks. That's about average. I think that's what I was doing when I was over the road. It's like
Yeah.
and like 2 months. I've done like the 3 month runs, and oh man,
Wow.
that gets a little. That was on my first year of truck driving. I just wanted to, be out, get experience, make money, but 4 months was
Right.
just a little too much.
Oh, when I first started, I didn't really have the legs to stay out more than like 3 weeks. 3 weeks felt like an eternity. When I finally get up to 4 weeks, I thought I was doing great. Now I stay out 4 weeks, and it's like, man, I just got out and I'm going home again. You know?
Where do you mostly
Yeah.
run?
Oh, everywhere. I mean, like we say, everywhere. It depends. I mean, sometimes you get stuck in a region. When I get stuck in a region, I'll do like the heart of the country, like maybe from Texas up to Michigan, and up around there, up back and forth. Um, but I mean, I recently I've just done like five straight runs, basically, from the East Coast out to the West Coast. So that was really cool. But that's got its own challenges.
Yeah. Do you go through the Rockies?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like driving anywhere. You just gotta be careful, and stay in control of your vehicle and know what the hell you're doing.
Right, right. At the first company I worked for, they had a policy like they didn't route drivers through the Rockies. So if we were to go to California, we'd have to go around the Rockies, which is,
Oh,
I guess
okay.
that's cheaper than the than
Yeah,
some of the experience. They do that for a reason, and I wonder how bad that reason was.
right. Makes you wonder.
S-
Yeah, I've seen some drivers, white knuckling down the mountains, and
That is a scary feeling. That's so scary when
yeah,
you're near the bottom and you're just like just you got your Jake brakes on, and
yeah,
your stab braking or whatever, and
yeah.
I don't know, it's fully loaded. It's quite a thrill.
Yeah, well, I got some views on that. I was never really too nervous about any of that, because basically it's like if you're in the right gear and you got the right, the right Jake setting, um, you're only using your brakes occasionally, and that's the way to go down the mountain.
Right.
If you're using your brakes more than just occasionally, you know, you're in you're in too high a gear and you need to drop down one. So, I've done that. I mean, occasionally I'll be in too high a gear, and I'll just brake, fairly hard. I don't mean jam them on, but I mean I'll brake fairly hard, and then I'll just downshift one, and go down the hill that way. And I'll be fine for the rest of the ride.
Oh, right on. Everyone listening right now, they're all dying to know, how did you get into
Yes.
trucking?
Well, that's interesting. My first career, I was in engineering, and that lasted for quite a while, like I guess 14 years.
Wow.
And yeah, I worked in civil service, and our naval base shut down, and I got a grant to go back to school, and which I did, and then I got a teaching certificate. And once I got that, I decided I was going to teach technology, and I moved out of Philadelphia at the time, and moved on down to North Carolina to teach, and did that for about 14 years, middle school, and that just burned me out. So I had to get out of that. And when I got out of that, I was kind of like loafing around for, I'd say, about a year, and I just didn't know what in the heck I was going to do at this point. Nothing really grabbed my attention. And one day, my brother called me up, my older brother, and he says, he goes, "Well, I've been thinking about this. You've been sitting around a long time. I think I got the perfect career for you." I'm like, "What's that?" He goes, "Well, you like the outdoors." He goes, "You got a cat. You can have the cat with you at work if you want to listen to music." He goes, "You like adventure." And I was wondering where he was going with this. And then he said, He told me, he's like, "Well, I think you should be a big rig driver." And I instantly, it just clicked in my head. I mean, I didn't even think about it. It's just like instantly I went, "Yeah, that sounds really good." And that's how I got into it back in 2012.
Sometimes it just takes just somebody. Just the trucking is not really something that I never thought of either as an option until somebody
Yeah,
else, like I heard somebody else talking about it. There's somebody around my age
right,
talking about it. I'm like, you know what? It sounds good. There's nothing bad about it, and you see the drivers out in the road right now, and you figure there's nothing that they have that I don't have.
right,
I could be a truck driver too.
right, right. Well, you know, the only thing that bothers me about it, and it's kind of funny, is just how filthy it is, and it doesn't have to be that filthy. It's like you don't have to be dumping your chicken wings in the parking lots, you know, or and taking a leak where somebody else is like going to be walking and everything. It's just we don't have to be that slobbish out there. That's the thing that really bothers me about this profession is just the lack of courtesy for other drivers, like in that regard. um I mean, I can almost deal with you know the highway safety, uh, it better, the way other drivers drive. I can deal with that almost better than just because that you know people are in a hurry and they're going to make mistakes and stuff, but it's a conscious decision to just be like taking a piss in the parking lot. It just bothers me. you know
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's uh, uh, me and a friend of mine. We have a little joke going on. Is you're not at a real truck stop until you could smell that who
right.
smell that specific smell,
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
and then
That's right.
usually that's your cue to move on down the road and maybe find
That's right.
some fresher air.
Yep. Yep,
So
exactly.
for the listeners to know, Vito and I know each other from Telegram. Vito runs a
Yes.
channel for over the road drivers called Professional Truck Drivers, where
Yep.
Vito dispenses the latest news. I'm reading off a paper, by the way, if you can't tell. Uh,
Okay.
so where was I? Okay, where Vito dispenses the latest news pertinent to today's trucker, which is nice, because like Telegram, it's a good app. It's a good messaging app. I like it better than WhatsApp. And
Yeah,
when I was
it really.
trying to look for a room with professional truck drivers, I got mostly like Eastern European rooms, like Russian rooms,
Yes.
Russian drivers. I'm like, I can't really communicate with these people. So
Right.
I was really happy when I found your channel and I found your room. And so there's other truckers there. It's a nice community. We keep it. We're just professional drivers only, and we have drivers from all over the world.
That's right.
So it's
And we keep out the riffraff.
exactly. So I was reading through some of the news, the posts, and all that, and I came across one that was pretty interesting. Let's see if I could find it over here. It's called the. It's from a site called the Consent of the Governed, and the title of the
Okay.
article is "Deadly Consequences of ELD Mandate."
Ah, yes.
So it's no doubt that electronic log devices they remain sort of a hot button issue among professional drivers,
Sure.
especially those who have been in the industry for a little while. Before this became mandatory.
Right.
So what's your take on the efficacy of the electronic log devices?
Okay. Well, overall, I think they're good. Overall, for a myriad of reasons. I mean, the main thing is I think they're better than paper logs because they wind up protecting the driver and being more useful than the harm. I mean, there's there's a little bit of harm involved, and that might, but it's really all in the driver's head. That kind of harm, like I think when they first came out with these ELDs, I think a lot of drivers are getting used to them when it was mandated that everyone has it, and everybody's getting used to them. And you'd see like ridiculous things in the parking lot. You'd see things like, drivers driving at like 2 miles an hour to get out the exit because they didn't want to go 5 miles an hour and then kick themselves onto the drive line. And it's like, there's just like a lot of freaked out people thinking that like every single minute counts. And it's not really like that. I mean, yeah, your time counts out there, but if you're that concerned about every single minute and every single second, you're probably going to wind up getting into an accident because you're going to, pull out in front of traffic or something. You just need to chill out and realize that you're still going to get your miles for the week and you're still going to be, making good money. And so I think a lot of it is in people's heads. But I could see that argument that, oh, ELDs make it more dangerous, and drivers are all, you know rushing around and stuff. But like I said, I really think a lot of that's just in their head. So getting back to the good side of ELDs, I would say that, like I said, they're better than paper logs. They protect the driver. Without them, companies would feel like they could run you into the ground.
That's true.
And
Yep.
yeah, I mean, in fact, I'm not going to say who it is, but I got a friend. She works for a really small company, and her quote unquote safety guy. She's there's maybe like 5 trucks in the company, and her quote unquote safety guy, which is like the owner of the company, he can actually, adjust her ELDs and, give her like a fresh start every week. I warned her about that. I said, you can't be having somebody adjusting your ELDs like that to give you more drive time. And but apparently stuff is still going on, you know. But with the larger companies, that kind of stuff can't happen. So the driver's protected. You're not going to get all worn out. Um, And if the driver knows what he's doing and he's got a good dispatcher, you could still run 3,400 miles in a week. And really, who needs to run more than 3,400 miles in a week? I mean, that's a lot of miles. And in fact, I'll get back to that a little bit later on about the mileage. Um, any more than that, like I said, you're going to get worn out. And the other way that you're protected, of course, and I'm sure a lot of the older guys out there that have done paper logs, they'll attest to this. When you're getting DOT'd with paper logs, they can and will find something on you in that paper log. You're not going to have the perfect paper log, and they're going to find something on you if they want to. And with the ELDs, they're not going to find anything. If you haven't gone over your 11 every day, or your 70 in the week, you know, as long as you're flagging your fueling and your load time and your unload time and stuff like that, um, you're protected. You're perfect in that regard, and they're just gonna, you know, pass you in your inspection. So
Hey, I do like
overall,
that.
like I
Like,
said,
like you don't want to give
yeah,
them too much of a reason because like that's money out of your pocket. So if you don't have to worry about um, just catching up on your logs, or like some people just don't like to do doing paper logs, and they'll just scribble something on
yeah,
there just to have something on there, even if
right,
it's not true.
right. Oh yeah, I mean I've done them, and they're just a major pain in the butt. Just to do them is just a pain in the butt, and yet they still have to be done with every time, whenever you stop and you got to rate your location and all that stuff. I mean, it's just so much easier with the ELD to make those annotations, and it's just done automatically. So I I don't know. I think drivers make too big of a deal about these ELDs. I think the bottom line, I would say, is, you know, they protect you. It makes your life easier. There's a little bit of a downside with them, but I think there's so much more of an upside with them. They're so much better than the old way with the paper logs. And that's my opinion. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there like the older drivers that are, swearing at me right now for saying that. It's like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, I've done them both. Sorry, that's my opinion.
uh, as far as the article makes a case that um, if you notice big trucks, this is from the article. If you've noticed, big trucks are being pushier than ever, and you could thank the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, also known as the FMCSA, for that. And there's making a case, and you're talking about mileage. You know how
Yeah,
most drivers are paid by the mile. So
right.
people drivers tend to. I'm not sure if it's true for all drivers, but a lot of people want to make the most out of their day by
Right.
doing the maximum amount of miles. Now, what's do you see that on the road where is there more? Are drivers actually pushier these days?
Oh, definitely. I don't know if it's really the ELDs or it's just there's just a lot of younger drivers out there that aren't they're not they're not they're not putting safety number one, you know. But yeah, I mean, clearly, in the 8 or 9 years that I've been driving, I've I've seen, when I first got out there, it seemed like it really was professional. Everybody, you know, maintained a pretty good following distance, and people signaled when they changed lanes, and there's a lot of professionalism out there that you just, and there wasn't any tailgating, like either in back of you, like a driver trying to push you off the road. I mean, it's really changed it, and it's gotten worse every year. And I think the last 2 or 3 years it's gotten much worse exponentially. And so yeah, I do see a pushiness out there. And again, I can't really there's so much going on. I can't really blame the ELDs per se. I would have to say there's just so many new drivers out there. And let's not forget, it's not just new drivers. We got a lot of drivers now from foreign countries out there, and they don't understand our, I mean, maybe they know our laws, but they don't understand our customs and the way that Americans drive. And I really think that that's a big part of it right there. I really do. I think that's a big part of it. That they're just driving the way that they do, in their own country. I'll give you an example. The other day I took an Uber, and it was actually my first Uber, and I took this Uber, and I had a driver, real nice guy, and I wanted to, I said, where are you from? And he told me he was from the Sudan. But I asked him that after I just watched the way this guy was driving, and the way he drove his Uber was just like downright scary. No, yeah. So I mean, he was like driving really fast, and he's like, and it was raining, and then he would, like, there was a stoplight, and the guy would drive really fast up to the stoplight and then jam on the brakes, and it was raining. And I thought, this is crazy. But that's probably how he drives in his home country. And I was thinking, it's probably the same thing out on the road with big trucks. People are just driving the way that they drive out there. They're just not used to driving, in America, and observing our customs and how we drive, you know?
It drive like it's more of a battle. You got to fight for your lane, or you got to like protect your lane instead of. You're right. Just letting, if a big truck needs to get over, just let them in. Like, you want everybody to
Right.
make it home alive. That's the point. That's
Right.
You know, we all want to see our families, so it's cool. And the big thing that I've always heard whenever people try to be in a rush or like at a pilot, you know, when it's all crowded and people are just like complaining and grumpy, just got to remind yourself wherever you need to go, that place is still going to be there. You know, so it's
That's right.
there's no load that's worth your life or worth dying over. You know, you or somebody else. That
Right. Yeah, and what you're saying, you're showing courtesy to somebody by letting them over, and you're also being safe, and you're also, I mean, you're being courteous to the driver, you're being courteous to the motoring public, and all that. And the way I look at it is, what are you really losing anything? Are you losing time by doing that, by slowing down just a little bit to let a truck on your left that's trying to pass you? I mean, you're not. I mean, that's not the way to look at it, because who knows? I mean, a couple of miles down the road, you may just find yourself in a sitting in back of a traffic accident, and you're sitting there for 2 hours. And then don't you feel kind of stupid? Like, gee, I wasn't courteous to this guy, and now we're both losing 2 hours. I mean, so you not only didn't lose anything, but now you're really losing something, because you really don't have control of that kind of stuff. So you might as well just chill out and get the big picture, which is arrive there safely, like you said.
yeah, it's good stuff. Good stuff. You know, it's very good. Very good stuff that new drivers need to hear. And you know, there's drivers that have been on the road for a while that need a reminder once in a while.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So back to the federal motor carriers. It I'll just say FMCSA.
Yeah.
And so they've made a lot of changes within the past um, 10 years, 20 years. I've actually they've been making changes forever now that I think about it.
Yeah.
As far as the changes up that have happened up to now, is there anything that you feel that you'd like to see changed as far as the regulations?
Yeah, there's one thing. First of all, um, I really like their new policy about when you doing your pre-trip, your your um, your 8 hour break time doesn't start until you actually start driving, and it's like that's counted down off your drive time, not your on duty time. I really like that. That was good, because that cuts back on drivers feeling a need to rush. So that was very smart for them to do that. I really, really like their 7-3 split now. That's good too. I actually used that the other day to get a load delivered on time, and I don't anticipate using that often. I have enough trouble with the 8-2 because I need my sleep. But I had to do a 7-3, and I was fine. So I really like that. So I would say, if there was like one thing that I would suggest to them, that I think that they should look into, is, everything's a one size fits all with them. And yeah, there's some drivers out there that are, maybe they're driving around with sleep apnea. Of course they got their CPAP machine. Maybe they're just not out of shape. Maybe they just don't sleep all that much, whatever. But what I'm saying is, we're all confined to 11 hours a day or 70 hours in a week, and I think the 11 hours in a day, I think that's good. I think that's the right amount. But ever since I've been driving, I've always had problems with that 70. I'm not I'm in pretty good shape, and I feel like, that should be more like maybe 75 or 80. It should be like, now granted, that's gonna, there's gonna be a lot of people that probably can't do that. Okay. But I'll bet you like a 30-year-old can probably do that with no problem, you know. But maybe a 60-year-old couldn't. But I think that should be bumped up, because, especially nowadays, you considering all the traffic that we have with congestion and construction. Um, and again, I think if we extended that work week, it would also take the pressure off of feeling a need to rush. So I think we might actually see a safety improvement if they were to bump that up a little bit. Maybe what they could do is they could do like a trial basis, bump it up to 75. You figure an extra 5 hours a week. It doesn't sound like much. I don't think it
Oh,
probably is.
that's
Uh,
huge. Like I haven't heard anybody
okay.
talk about this because like yeah,
Okay.
you're right. Traffic has that cities are getting more populated. If you go through places like Austin, especially, that doesn't really have
Right.
the infrastructure to really handle the amount of traffic that really goes through. So if you're going through Austin in the daytime, you're gonna hit traffic. Even at
Right.
nighttime,
Of
you're gonna hit
course.
traffic. And and
Yes.
and and
Three in
it's
the morning.
yeah, exactly. Like why are these cars still out? It doesn't make any sense.
No,
But
it doesn't.
yeah, extra 5 hours, yeah, that would make a difference. That would that I
I think so.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great suggestion.
Yeah, I hope they would consider that. Now the thing is, like, what they got to keep in mind is the reality of the situation. Yeah, if they bump it up to 75, how many how many trucking companies do they really think are going to be able to have their drivers do 75 hours a week? I mean, probably not too many. Like where I work at my company, I can guarantee you if I had a 75-hour week, yeah, I'd be running recap just the same all the time. Cause my company's got loads everywhere. We got more loads than we can drive. We turn them down. Um, the company does. We got a lot of freight. So, but I know I can handle that. I mean, to me, that's what is that? Like an extra, maybe an extra hour a day or something. It's just really no big deal. Um, so I would really like to see that. And again, I think it would take the pressure off of all this rushing around business. And you think about it, it would help the economy, because drivers would be, pushing more freight and getting things done. I mean, I don't know if you've seen it, but lately I go into a Walmart and the shelves are not really stocked very well. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? You know, how come we're not delivering freight like we used to? And it seems to be in a lot of places where there's shortages.
Right, right. And that might be a result of just scheduling for the warehouse.
Yeah, could be.
10-4, 10-4. But that's really good stuff. I really like that. There's something to ponder later.
I'm
And
surprised you haven't heard that. You haven't heard anybody mention that. Huh.
no, I mean because it's like we've been at 11 hours for so long too. So
Yeah.
it's like I it's hard to think about any other type of life. And but yeah, you're right. Yep. Yeah, I'm not sure why I
Good.
haven't thought about it, but now I am thinking about it. Thanks for putting that in my head.
Oh, sure.
And so you live in New York State, and it gets pretty cold over there.
Yeah.
It snows every once in a while,
Right.
and
Especially upstate. But actually, I'm living in North Carolina right now. But I
oh,
kind of know
okay.
where you.
Oh, I
Go ahead.
gotcha. All right. So I mean, either way, you said with your company you go everywhere, and when I
Yeah.
um and I know who you work for, and I've seen your trucks literally everywhere in places I never thought I'd see your trucks. Because
Yeah.
I used to live in the oil fields, and
Yep.
I see your trucks just rolling by. I'm like, nobody comes up here. We're 40 minutes away from the Canadian border, but
Right.
in the middle of nowhere, not even a major part of the border. But
Right.
so you see a lot of winter driving, and winter driving is usually the type of situation that separates the professional drivers from the quote unquote steering wheel holders.
Yeah.
So every winter especially like around like I always see it in on the I-70 in Missouri. You know, with a big snowstorm, you'll see like a bunch of trucks in the middle of the highway, or you just it's common
Oh yeah.
to see wrecks every year.
Oh yeah.
Um, so what are some like basic or some winter driving tips that you have for especially for somebody who's new or somebody who's thinking about getting into trucking that's worried about maybe handling such a large rig in the wintertime.
Right. Yeah. You mentioned the trucks in the median in the winter. Though, those YouTube videos about the pileups. Those are downright frightening.
Oh yeah,
Um, I'm sure we've all seen those. Those are just down. Those I attribute those to two things. First of all, my company, and if anybody's going to get into trucking, I would suggest to them that they don't work for a company that says, "Yeah, we mandate that you need to chain up and keep going." Any company like that, I would not work for. And I've interviewed with companies like that before, and I just won't drive for them. It's my company's policy is, we call it the captain of the ship policy, and I think that's a great policy. And it's like if you feel like you're unsafe that because of the conditions on the road, all you got to do is shoot us a message and let us know where you're going to shut down, and then let us know why, when you're rolling again. And that's to
that's a good
me,
policy.
that's where it's a great policy. And to me, you can't put a price on that. Some people are like, "Oh, I can go to this company and make more money." Well, go ahead, make your $5,000 more, and go get into a wreck with your company that's forcing you to drive in the snow. My company doesn't do that. And it's like I don't have to worry about losing my CDL or losing my life for a stinking extra couple of $5,000. So I love our policy about you know not shutting down, being captain of the ship. And actually, I will mention my company at this point because we've been talking about it, and it's CFI, Contract Freighters Incorporated.
That's what it stands for.
Established
I've always wondered.
Yeah, established 1951.
Okay.
And yeah, we drive the big red trucks out there. We used to be known as the Red Racers at 70 miles an hour. Now we're down to 65, and we'll probably stay there, but it's okay. I'm making good money just the same, because I get a lot of dispatch miles. But anyway, getting back to this. So, captain of the ship, that's like number one. If you find a company that says, if you feel it's unsafe, go ahead and shut down and let us know. Now, I know it's not just CFI that does it. I used to work for US Express, and they were the same way. And before that, I worked for Arnold Transportation, and they were the same way. So the three companies that I've driven for, they're all about safety, and they mean it, because when a company says you're captain of the ship, they really do mean they're taking safety seriously. So that's the first thing. And then, of course, when it's snowing really hard, so I don't even drive under those conditions. I mean, I could get stuck out there at some point, but I look at the radar, and I'm listening to the Weather Channel on Sirius XM, and I just don't get myself into a situation where I know the weather is bad or it's going to be bad, and I got to go 100 miles up the road before I park, and I don't know what the weather is doing 100 miles up the road. So I check the radar, I listen to the news and everything, and if I know that it's snowing pretty hard up the road, I'm just going to shut down, you know, just before I get into all that. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to get into one of those big pileups. But the other thing is, when you're driving in snow, and we all get caught in it at least once in a while. I remember one snowy Pennsylvania day where I was on I-80 in some really bad weather, and I just took it nice and easy until I got into the truck stop, and then I parked it. And basically, what I was doing was, people are flying by me at 60 miles an hour. I was going probably about 50, and I wasn't changing lanes, and I was maintaining a nice big distance in front of me. And if a truck came up to my left and he wanted to pass me, I I s- I just slowed down more than I usually do and let the guy get in front of me, and now I'm I got a nice cushion because I slowed down so much, and then he's in front of me and there's a nice cushion. And that's what you got to do. You got to maintain your distance, of course, in that condition. You have to that's I believe that's the main thing is, maintaining your distance during those kind of snowstorms, is and your speed, and you should be fine.
Yeah, too many times I see in a wintertime just like two governed trucks, just like one may be going maybe a half mile per hour faster than the other,
Yeah.
and they're just doing the 5 mile pass,
Oh
and
yeah.
and it's like it's ridiculous. You're right. Just slow down. Just let him. He really wants to get in front of you. Just let him get in front of you. Because it's
Right.
you never know when one of you two might lose it, and you'll just run into each other and cause a chain reaction. So even if another
Yeah,
driver's
exactly.
being unsafe, then at least make that unsafe situation as safe as possible, if that makes sense. Just
Oh, that makes total sense.
yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right on.
um so I got a couple of I also have some tips for winter driving because there might be some new listeners, new drivers that are listening, and I have I came across these tips. I'm like a student. I'm a student of driving. I'm always reading, and I'm always searching for information. And of course, I talk to a lot of drivers all the time too. But surprisingly, I was at a Thanksgiving dinner last year, and our driver advocate at CFI. I mean, he comes into the terminal, and it is like a family. When your driver advocate walks into the terminal and there's a bunch of guys sitting around in the TV room, and he says, "Hey, is anybody interested in coming over to my house for Thanksgiving dinner?" And so a bunch of us went over there. It's like I think about 10 of us, and we just got in his van and we drove over to his house and had a really nice dinner. And then after dinner, we're all talking, and I thought I'd throw out some winter tips. And I was really surprised that, like, out of everybody in the room, uh, there was a couple of them that I threw out that nobody had ever heard of before. I mean, I'm in there with like drivers that have been driving for 15 years, 20 years, and they're like, "Gee, I didn't know that," and that's a great idea, and I'm going to start doing that. So I figured that maybe some of these tips that I throw out, you know, they maybe somebody can glean some good information from them.
Oh,
So
great.
yeah. All right. Well, the first one I'll throw out is I don't know if I don't know if it was developed by a CFI driver. I'd like to find out the history of it, but I call them cheater chains. So everybody know what chains are.
Oh,
You
and
know, yeah,
you have a video on this on your channel
that's right.
too. Yeah, I
That's
like
right.
this. All right.
I posted that last year. Yes, sir. And so a cheater chain is basically you can go anywhere like a Home Depot or Tractor Supply, wherever. You get yourself a chain that's about the same um, bulk of chain that your normal chains are for a set of drive tires for your truck. And what you do is you cut them to length so that the chain wraps around. It goes through the hole in the wheel, and it goes around the tire up top. So basically, you got one loop going around the tire, and then you get yourself some quick disconnects there, and that's the way you hook them up. So I could literally throw one of those chains on one tire. It could literally take like 15 seconds to do that, maybe 20 seconds. And so I cut four lengths. I've actually got four of them. You could do anywhere from two to four, but I've got four of them that go on the outside of my drive tires. And what are they good for? Oh, they're great for if you are stuck in the snow or ice and you just can't move. You put those on, and they will get you moving. And then once you're moving, you take them off. Obviously, you don't drive with these, but it saves you the trouble of digging or throwing down salt or whatever, you know. So basically, I mean, I know they work. I used them just last year in New Jersey. I was caught in a night in a snowstorm, and I made it to the customer basically at midnight, and there's nobody else around. And I'm in this big giant parking lot, and I just parked myself in a certain spot in this parking lot, up against one of the bays, the delivery bays, and I was parked there 2 days, and it snowed. I think there's about a foot of snow on the ground, and then a lot of it turned to ice and whatnot. And the morning that I had to deliver, like 2 days later, because nobody came in for 2 days, the morning I had to deliver, I couldn't even move the truck. So what I did was I put on my cheater chains, and I got the truck moving. Yeah, it took a little while, it took about 5 minutes, but eventually those chains just dig you out. And so it doesn't matter if you're sitting on snow or ice, you get dug out of there, and you get moving. So that's that's the thing to do. Make yourself a set of those cheater chains. You can make I made like a pair will cost you like about $40 with the connectors and the set of chains. So, if you want like, four of them, maybe it costs you $80. Big deal. I'll tell you what, you use them once or twice in your career, and you'll be glad you had them, because you don't want to be stuck and have to call for a wrecker or anything else. So,
In those situations, especially ice, I think people underestimate. Even people might think, oh, you just if you're loaded, you'll be fine. It's like no. I mean, you're more likely you'll get stuck either way. When I did oil field,
right,
we used to hop pretty heavy, and if I was on ice, um,
right.
there was a high chance that I wouldn't be able to move. I'd see my drive tires just spinning and spinning,
It's
and
amazing, isn't it?
yeah, and we hauled salt water. So what I had to do was get a little bit of that salt water from the oil well, kind of like dump it on the ground, like around the wheel, around the tire, to
Right.
melt the ice. But a cheater chain would have made a difference. Would
I think so. Yeah,
yeah.
they
Wow.
they they dig you out. They dig you out like there's no tomorrow. I mean, and of course you're rock. You can't just like keep trying to go forward. You want to go forward, backward. You even want to drop your airbags a little bit. Drop your airbags down. That'll put a little bit more weight over your drives. And then of course you're rocking it back and forth, and you're locking in your differentials. So now you got two axles working for you, not just one. So that you're doing all that, and eventually you're going to get out. 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, but again, it saves you the time of a wrecker. Calling up your company if that's the case, or if you're an owner op, you're going to be really screwed, because now you got to pay for that wrecker to get you out of there. But just consider the time and the embarrassment to calling your company like, oh, I'm stuck. It's no, it's worth it. I used it twice this last winter. I have not used them in like 8 years. I did not use them at all, and then I used them twice this winter, and they already paid for themselves, and I still got them.
I do remember a tip going with that on your video. You did warn, just don't put it through the on your rim, the hole with the valve stem on it.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. Yes, yes, you don't want to do that because you'll knock your valve stem off. Correct. Yes,
T-
good point.
10-4. Yeah, and that video, another incentive to join the channel. It's found on Telegram, and I'll put a link to the channel in the description
Oh, great.
so that
Yeah,
people could find the wealth of knowledge that's in
yeah.
there. But
And we're all working together, definitely. There's a lot of good ideas floated around. Yes, sir. Um, let's see. How much more time we got? A couple more minutes.
yeah,
Okay, great. Well, the other ones aren't. I mean, they're pretty cut and dry. They won't take like a long description. Now, this one I was really surprised. Now, um, The cheater chain I learned about from another CFI driver. Actually, our safety department was telling us about it because in the days where we used to run super singles, um, that we had a lot of problems with
But
the super
but
singles.
for those
And
that don't know, would you explain what super singles
oh,
are?
yeah, super single, instead of having dual tires in the back for your drives, there's just one big fat tire back there. And at one point, I actually measured, like, okay, what's the width of this one big fat tire back? So instead of having 8 tires back there, you got 4 tires. Okay, so at one point I measured it, and this super single was a certain width, and then the duals, the amount of rubber hitting the road on a dual was slightly more. So you actually have a
Huh.
little bit less, yeah, a little bit less rubber hitting the road um, using super singles than you are with the duals. I would say probably about 10% more.
Interesting, because those super singles look ginormous. Absolutely.
Yeah, they do.
Like you figure the when I see them, I'm like that gap in between the duels, that's got to be taken. Like the super singles have to be making up for that gap. So yeah, I didn't know that. That's what worries me about those is I think everybody's first thought is like, well, what if one of them blows out? Like that's
Yeah. Well, that's a good thought. Yeah, one of them blows out, you're dead in the water. You can't go anywhere. But overall, I mean, they're not that bad. There's a theory out there that you're going to do better with duals in the snow because when you're going in the snow gets trapped in between the two drive tires, and that gives you a little stability. Plus, like I said, you do have a little bit more rubber hitting the road. Duals tend to be a little bit stiffer. um, I think that's one of the reasons why you see, if you ever look at tankers going down the road, there's a lot of tankers that use super singles. And from what I understand about that is they're I don't know how to describe it, maybe a little bit more uh what's the word I'm looking for? Uh they 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 oh, that's it. They tend to damp out the all that liquid sloshing around and stuff, and they tend to, because they're a little bit more cushiony. That's it. They
okay.
tend to damp out. In other words, like, they absorb the energy better than the stiffer drive tires. And by absorbing the energy better, it makes for a little bit better of a ride and stability with the tanker specifically than if you had duals on it, pulling a tanker. And I think that's why you see a lot with the tankers. Um, and of course, they do save weight, and that's one of the reasons why you'll see them on the back of trailers and stuff. Because you could put like about 600 pounds more on your trailer because you're saving that between the you know all the extra steel for the rims
Oh
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
and all try tires. Yeah, so there's a lot of advantages to it. All right. So anyway, what was I saying? Getting back to uh,
Right. They do the
getting
the winter safety tip.
yeah, yeah. So here's one that I think would be pretty good. Add Dawn dishwasher fluid to your windshield wiper fluid, and that will help you get the grime off the road uh, on your windshield. You won't believe how clean your windshield will be. Now, I'm not talking a whole lot. I'm talking like, I think your most windshield wiper reservoirs hold about a gallon and a half. And we're talking like 1 teaspoon of Dawn dishwashing liquid in there. And that's all you need. And you won't believe the cleaning power of the Dawn. It'll help get rid of the grime, the oil, and the bugs
The
It's
bugs,
just, yeah, the
especially the
bugs.
bugs are
Yeah.
the biggest issue. You know, I've these bugs can get really really bad, and where you pretty much can't see. If you're a night driver and you have lots of bugs on your windshield, then like you eventually you'll have to pull over because you can't see anything in front of you.
It's the truth. That is the truth.
So a little bit of Dawn soap in the window washer fluid reservoir goes a long
Yep.
way, huh?
And that's both. I mean, that's all year round you're using it. I mean, we're talking winter, but I use it year round because it helps get rid of all the grime,
Oh,
you know,
right, right,
and you
right.
got even more like the salt. Then you're dealing with all the salt in the wintertime, and it helps get rid of that too. Now, if, you know, if any of the drivers have ever been in a TA or a Petro, you'll see, and you look around like I do, you'll see these like little pellets. They're like the size of silver dollars or something, and they're called Clindo. And if you have you ever heard of them, Clindo?
Glendo, nope.
Uh, yeah, it's like Clindo, Clindo. Well, they sell these. They sell these. They come in a pack of five, and I think it's like $6 or $7. And basically, you just drop one of those in your windshield wiper fluid, and it supercharges it. Well, I used to buy those, and I was using them. Now, if you don't use them up in a year, then they don't even dissolve anymore. So that's another pain. But they're very expensive, and they don't do half the job that Dawn does. And you could buy like you can go to a dollar store and get yourself, you know, for $1 you can get a small container of Dawn, and that's enough in there to last you probably 3 or 4 years with just adding a teaspoonful to your windshield wiper fluid, and it works better than the Clindo. So there's another tip for you.
That's yeah. These are really good tips. I've never heard of. Yeah. These for as long as I've been driving, this is the first time I've been.
Yeah,
I've heard about any of these, especially the
yeah.
cheater chain, the Dawn soap. So
Well,
yeah, it
let's.
makes life
I
a
got
little easier on the road.
Yeah. Well, I got another one
Ooh, nice.
for listeners. Okay, now this one I got this one off a website, and I looked up like winter driving, and like I said, I'm a student of driving. I'm always trying to learn. So I got this one off of a website. Um, you put your visors down. You typically have three visors up there. You put your visors down across the top of your windshield. I don't mean like all the way forward, just basically down at like a right angle so that they're facing, 100% down in front of you. And what that'll do is that traps all the heat of your defroster against the windshield so that all of
Oh,
the snow will melt all the way across your windshield when it's snowing.
so no ice forming at the
Correct.
bottom, the corners of your window. Oh
Correct.
wow, little insulation pad. That's
Yes,
it's right there in front of you. The answer's right there in front of you, drivers.
exactly. It's right there in front of you. And I I this winter I started looking around like, is anybody else doing this besides me out there? Now I tell everybody about it, but I was curious, like, is anybody else out there doing it besides me? And I think one day I was looking at like 15 trucks, and then finally I came across one other driver that had their visors down. I mean, it's like there's a lot of people that don't know about it, and it's so easy and it works so well. It really does. So that's another good trick for you. Um, of course, another one is you want to use winter wipers. They really do work. They don't catch the snow in the little grooves like you got with your regular wipers. They're built to kind of melt, keep stuff away. Um, you might want to have a little spray bottle of de-icer that you get at Walmart. You could spray your windshield down. When it starts to snow, you can spray that. And the good thing about de-icer is if you needed to, you can also help to maybe open up a lock that might be frozen, or maybe even spray around your tires to help you get going a little bit when you're using that cheater chain. You might want to use that de-icer down there too. So that's another reason for some good de-icer. Uh,
Nice.
Another one. Invest in a telescopic ice scraper. One that folds inward and outward, so that you can actually brush the snow and scrape the ice off your windshield while you're just leaning outside your truck. You got the door open and you're bracing yourself with the on the open door, and you're just leaning across your windshield with this telescopic ice scraper, and you could just brush all the snow off of one side, and you go to the passenger side, and then you do that one, and you got all the snow off. So you don't have to worry about climbing up, and which is crazy. You don't want to climb up on your truck in the middle of a snowstorm anyway. But right, although some people do it because they haven't invested in a telescopic ice scraper. So that's another one. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, to wrap it up, you need to slow down a bit and leave yourself plenty of distance when it's snowing. And one further thing, if you can, avoid driving at night. If you could do some extra distance during daylight, um, do it. Like if you can cut even 50 miles off of your drive time
Hmm.
when it's daylight, do it. And then you'll have 50 miles less to drive maybe at 5 o'clock in the morning before the sun comes up, because the really bad stuff is that that black ice, that is some deadly stuff out there. And you got to constantly be thinking about that when it's below freezing, or maybe it snowed and then it heated up during the day, and all that stuff is refroze and turned into ice. So remember, black ice matters.
Black ice matters. These are all very good tips, Vito. I really appreciate you sharing them. It's definitely
Yes, you're welcome.
going to help me. I know it's going to help a lot of people out there listening. Thank you so
Great.
much. Thank you so much for your time. I really do
My
do
pleasure.
uh, appreciate you being here and just sharing your knowledge. And this is the point of the show. I want to talk to drivers and there's too many shows where you're talking to CEOs of companies or just like people who really don't really know the road. Like
Right.
a professional driver does. So for anybody who has Telegram, I'll put the Telegram link in the description about how you can join the group, join the channel, and I'm in there too. Come say hi, and
Thank
come meet the legend himself, Vito.
Just in my own mind. So,
Ten
well, it's been a
four.
pleasure. I just, you know, I encourage anybody thinking about this as a profession. It's a really good one. Something that you could make good money. You just have to have a good work ethic, and you have to be. You got to put safety first and foremost. That's really the thing. And like I said before, just chill out, man. Just
Just chill
chill
out.
out, enjoy the ride, man. You're gonna get there safe. Just chill out and enjoy the ride, the scenery. Look around, look around at the people and smile and wave and enjoy yourself out there, man. Don't be all caught up in this rush crap, because that's gonna get you hurt.
It does make the day a little better, doesn't it? Just to
It sure does.
just clear the mind a little bit and know that you only have one life too. You only have one. Just
That's
don't don't waste it on trying to get a load on time somewhere.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly.
Very cool.
Exactly.
All right, Vito. I hope you have. This is we're recording this right before 4th of July weekend, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend at
Yes, sir.
home. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to get home time for 4th of July weekend. I know that's stuff you have to do in advance, quite a bit. That's just the nature of over the road truck. I'm not sure if you have to, but I know when I was doing over the road, like Christmas is a big one where you got to put in your days for about 2 months in advance because people either want Thanksgiving or Christmas. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'm glad you got this weekend off. Enjoy the fireworks.
Yes, sir. hopefully we have them. I got to check into it. Hopefully things are returning to normal. I mean, things are still kind of shut down here in North Carolina, so
People need those
I don't know.
fireworks. People, especially
Oh,
during
need
these
them.
times. Yeah.
I've got them. I got them. If I can't find them, I got some anyway. So
Oh,
that's
right
what's
on.
gonna happen. Yeah. All right.
All right, Vito. We'll catch you on the flip flop.
Okay, been my pleasure. All right. Talk
10
to you
4.
later.
Later.
All right.
All right, that was great. Thanks again, Vito, for being on the show. I'm going to post a link to that chat room, like I said, into the description wherever you're listening to this. I hope they have a description box. That's where I'm going to put it. That's where I'm going to insert that Telegram link. And when you click on it, it'll ask you, if you don't have Telegram installed, it might ask you to install Telegram. It's a great app. It is a great app. I use it for, it's my mini internet. I use it for news. I use it to download media. I use it to some of my closest friends are on Telegram. It's a great time over there. So one of my favorite messaging apps. I'm not paid by Telegram to say this, but I do like it. I've been using it since 2014 and I haven't stopped. So many channels, so many opportunities. Okay, I'll stop talking about Telegram, but you need that app in order to get into that chat room to see Vito's channel, and I hope to see you there. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great day. We'll catch you on the flip flop. Come on.